how Alexander the Great of ancient Greece, 330 BC, became Iskandar Zulkarnain, the legendary ancestor of the Malay kings. An exhibition at the British Library entitled Alexander the Great, The Making of a Myth, details how Alexander the Great became Iskandar Zulkarnain, the legendary ancestor of the Malay kings. At the age of 25, Alexander the Great, who was born in Macedonia in 356 BC, routed the Persian army. Before his untimely death in Babylon at the age of 32 in 323 BC, Alexander had built an empire over the course of the following 7 years that spanned from Greece to Egypt and beyond the Indus River in the east. Alexander the Great, The Making of a Myth, on exhibition at the British Library from October 21st, 22 to February 1st, 23, does not, however, center on the historical Alexander, but rather on how other civilizations took the great hero and reshaped him into their own image. Alexander is mentioned in myths and legends in many different languages, including Greek, Hebrew, Syriac, Coptic, Arabic, and Persian, where he is referred to as the two-horned or Iskandar Zulkarnain. Alexander entered the Malay civilization as Iskandar Zulkarnain, the fabled ancestor of the Malayan kings, based on a Persian prototype. The Malay tale of Alexander the Great. The tale of Iskandar the Two-Horned, which is known as the Malay Hikayat Iskandar Zulkarnain, was most likely translated into Malay in the early 15th century from an Arab paraphrase of the Persian source that ultimately originated in the Greek Alexander romance, credited to the author known as Pseudo-Callisthenes. The most likely location for this literary adoption is Pasai in North Sumatra, which is in the 13th century, had become the first Malay monarchy to convert to Islam. There are two versions of the Malay myth that are currently known: the shorter Sumatran version that concludes with Iskandar's marriage to the princess of King Tibbus of Damascus, Syria, and the longer one connecting it to the Malay Peninsula that goes all the way to the Iskandar demise. Iskandar Zulkarnain leads expeditions to the west and east, conquers Iran and Egypt, Andalusia and Ethiopia, Syria and India, and finally reaches the edges of the world with the eponymous Hikayat, assisted by the prophet Khidir and Greek wise men. The Islamic version of the Hikayat Iskandar Zulkarnain, according to Vladimir Braginsky, widened the limits of the inhabited world for the Malayans and unveiled to them the unity of humanity in their own place in it. The Sulatat al-Salatin, also known as Sejarah Melayu or Malay Annals, is a magnificent sultanate of Malacca's history, containing the most famous appearance of Iskandar in Malay literature. According to the teller of tales, one day Raja Iskandar, son of Raja Darab of the race of Rum in Constantinople, from the country of Macedonia, entitled the Two-Horned, set out to see where the sun rose, the manuscript reads. So he journeyed until he reached the border of India. Iskandar is the first actor on the scene. The account of Iskandar and Raja Kida Hindi's encounter and marriage is detailed in Firdawsi's 11th century Persian epic, the Shahnameh, when Iskandar defeats Raja Kida Hindi and marries his daughter in a ceremony overseen by the prophet Nabi Khidir. Malay rulers can be traced back to this union because the Sulalat al-Salatin describes how three princes descended from Raja Iskandar, Zulkarnain, arise out of nowhere on Mount Siguntang in Palembang, Sumatra. The second ruler took over Tanjung-Pura, the second took over Minangkabau, and the youngest stayed in Palembang and established the line of sultans of Malacca. And since then, Iskandar Zulkarnain has frequently been a preferred regal name of Malay rulers, and the most powerful king of Aceh in the early 17th century was known as Iskandar Muda, or the young Iskandar. And due to the space restrictions, the British Library exhibition does not include the Malay manuscripts that feature Iskandar Zulkarnain. Nevertheless, the companion book does have the Royal Malay seal, and this letter dated September 14, 1727, is written in Malay and is addressed to Governor General M. de Haan of the Dutch East India Company in Batavia. It bears the lamp black seal of Sultan Amir Iskandar Zulkarnain Saifuddin of Ternate in the Moluccan Islands, who ruled from 1714 to 1751. The seal has the inscription Al-Mumin Bila Paduka and Amir Iskandar Zulkarnain Raja, which translates to the believer Paduka Seri Sultan Amir Iskandar Zulkarnain, the year 1715 to 16. Observe how the date uses dots to denote place value. 3 dots next to the number 1 represents 1,000. 2 dots adjacent to the number 1 denotes 100. 1 dot above the number 2 denotes tens. And through God, Paduka Sera Sultan Iskandar Zulkarnain, the year 1188, is how Bila Iskandar Zulkarnain, who ruled later in the 18th century, adopted Iskandar Zulkarnain as part of the regal name. A contract between Ternate and the Dutch East India Company, dated August 16, 1774, has that seal. And Iskandar Zulkarnain has a strong appeal as a regal name in those northeast islands of the archipelago, which are far from the mountains of Palembang, where the descendants of Iskandar are said to have first appeared in the Malay world. Iskandar meaning, of course, again, Alexander the Great. This is indicated by the fact that the seal of a Sultan of Bacan, an island to the south of Ternate, is inscribed with his name. And there's various pictures of the seals here. In fact, Minangkabau, from the dynasty of Iskandar Zulkarnain to Tuanku, Bonju, is the title of one of the newest additions to the library, a new work in Malay in the history of Minangkabau. And this is on Great Game India. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.